seeing students from orientation, and then at the very end of class, the way in which they speak about the material, speak about themselves, they built that confidence, because confidence is something that you can't teach.
Welcome to StaffBuffalo's Pain Points podcast.
Hi everyone, my name is Sam. I'm a recruiter here with StaffBuffalo, and welcome to the Pain Points podcast. Super excited to be here at the Buffalo Center for Arts and Technology with Russell Bassarath. He is the Professional Development Manager here at BCAT, and excited to discuss some of the pain points of the organization and how they've been overcome, and also just discuss how integrated BCAT has become into the Buffalo community and all the great things they're doing. So I would love to pass the floor over to Russell to introduce himself and discuss a little bit more about BCAT.
Thank you so much, Sam, for having me on today. My name is Russell Bassarath. I'm Professional Development Manager here at BCAT for the last almost 10 months now for our youth and adult programs. Very excited to share and explore some of these topics today. So yeah.
Awesome. So I know that you've grown within the organization. I know that we've been working together for just about probably 10 months too. So how has that journey looked like for you growing within BCAT?
Yeah, so I came on board September. This is my second time with the organization. The first time I was here, I was a history tutor for our youth students. And then I came back in September in a part-time role as a facilitator. In November, I was brought on full-time for a facilitator role for our adult and youth. And then about 3 months ago, I was made manager, brought into the leadership team here at BCAT to oversee our entire professional development curriculum and handle some of our external partnerships. So it's been a fast-paced journey, but it's been really fun and rewarding.
Yeah, great. I know that you pour a lot of your heart and soul into the role. It's definitely evident at BCAT. It's been great to work with you from that front. So I know that you work with both the youth and adults. What has been the biggest difference between those two groups, and do they face different challenges here?
Yeah, so it's definitely been different. So I guess for a little bit of context, my background is in education. I used to be a high school teacher. I taught history both in Europe and in the United States. And for me, it was about developing my approaches of reaching an adult audience, because this was my first time teaching it to adults in a capacity about professional development. But one of the ways I was able to align adult and youth is around end objectives. Building skills, building confidence at the forefront of the curriculum. Granted, the objectives are a little bit different for adult. It's about leaving the program with the certification and getting employment. For the youth, it's about building the skills, whether they go college or career route or both, and what that looks like for them. So it's been rewarding in that sense, but it does take different approaches to reach the audiences correctly.
Definitely. And I've only had the chance to interact with the adult students, and they've been great. They all come from very different backgrounds, which is always exciting to just learn some new perspectives and hear different journeys, even though they're all in the same program. So that's always been fascinating for me throughout my experience within mock interviews here at BCAT as a mock interviewer. That's always been my favorite part, is hearing everyone's differences and their different skills and interests. So I know that's also a large thing here at BCAT, is everyone's coming from a different background. What have been the challenges that you've seen students face before getting to BCAT, or even during their time here while studying?
Yeah. So one of the biggest challenges is that career transition. For a lot of our students, they're pivoting. They're at an interesting time in their career in which they're coming to BCAT to gain a certification, to gain their education, to hopefully enter a new journey. One of the challenges is just adjusting, coming back to school. For a lot of our students, they're here Monday through Thursday, multiple hours a week, having to study on top of it, while having work outside of BCAT, having their personal lives as well, so finding balance. But I've been very fortunate to see a lot of our students find success in navigating that balance and then leaving BCAT with an employment opportunity that they're excited about for their new chapter.
Very rewarding, I'm sure. And so we already established you've grown here. How have you seen the programs here at BCAT grow as well?
Yeah, dramatically,
yeah.
To say the least. From the first time I was here at BCAT in our old building, we have our own classrooms now for all our subjects, for youth and adult, staff, having full-time staff is huge for our programs as we continue to grow. And we have classes to offer. For me, it's running multiple sections a year. Our pharmacy technician class, 6 months of the year. So it's definitely very fast-paced, especially in this brand new space that we've been in for about a year now.
Yeah, it's super exciting, and I got a tour of the facility. It's awesome. The classrooms are so cool. You have a lot of tech-based programs as well, of course art-based programs, but also tech. I know that tech is a big thing right now, specifically within AI, and everything's just constantly, rapidly evolving. How has that been as you've been trying to develop out those programs, and have you seen the boom in enrollment?
Yeah, so our tech classes are always staying filled. And granted, if anyone is interested in gaining CompTIA certifications, BCAT's definitely the place to do it. But it matches the needs of our economy, especially here in Buffalo. As you mentioned, tech is growing, it's expanding, rise of artificial intelligence, and we're seeing the impact it's having on the market. But by gaining these skills and additional certifications, we're helping position students in a way to be successful in a career in tech that matches, one, the needs, but also to help their growth, because BCAT is just the starting point for our students' journey here in tech, or many of the classes we offer for that matter. But it's exciting to see the ways in which a student grows from our first class, Tech Plus, all the way to security, where they knows the ins and outs of the computer itself and the way the network is functioning and the confidence in their answers. I know you have seen firsthand from our mock interviews, but as our students progress throughout the classes, they're able to no longer just recite an answer, they're able to tell practical experience of how they would approach a problem and decipher a solution.
Yeah, and it goes back to, I think, the stories and the backgrounds that they come from. Like some students I've spoken to while doing the mock interviews here at BCAT, they have always been into tech. Like I've heard stories where they got their first computer and then just completely built a new computer, like based off of studying the infrastructure of their first computer, which is awesome. But then you also have students who are seeing, like you said, the economy demanding certain types of jobs within certain industries, and they're looking to just sharpen themselves as a candidate in the job market. So that's been really cool to see that BCAT is offering like ways for candidates to really become strong within the job market here in Buffalo as a recruiter's perspective. But in terms of the arts program, to go into that, I know that you've mentioned that you've seen students who began as maybe in the youth program and then watched them develop into the end of the program here at BCAT. How has it been watching students develop as your role as a professional development manager?
It's what makes this all worth it. For me, some of the students I know from freshmen, when they were freshmen in high school, is when I was a tutor. They only remember me as a history tutor who they saw around with a couple of their peers. But now getting to teach the professional development classes here for the youth, it's a whole new ballgame. It's the atmosphere, it's still welcoming. The students are excited, and it's beautiful to see. The students who I knew from freshmen, where they were just figuring out or thinking about what's the next class for high school or sophomore year, and now they're seniors about to graduate, or rather at this point graduated. And now several are already been accepted into colleges, getting ready to start. Some are pursuing trade school as well. And we have one student actually who has his own business in the arts, photography. So it's beautiful to see the way in which their journeys are all different. But they do have one shared story, which is being here at BCAT for several years, so it's always nice to see the retention rate.
Developing out the connections in the community as they start establishing themselves is really cool as well. And for other connections in the community, your collaboration with organizations that sort of help BCAT run, how have those been, and your relationships with them, how did they benefit BCAT?
Tremendously, just to put it bluntly. We would not be able to function the way we do without external support. And we're really grateful that organizations, companies, businesses here at BCAT outside of BCAT, want to work with BCAT. It benefits the students in a way of, for example, with our mock interviewers. We're able to bring in recruiters like Sam, people who own their own businesses within the tech space. We had a CEO come in to serve as a mock interviewer more than one occasion. So it's nice when we have that type of support because students can see what they're doing in the classes will translate to success outside of the classroom environment. Without that support, we would not be able to really fulfill our mission the way we've been able to so far.
And even just walking around the building, it's so cool to see how immersed BCAT is and how there's so much collaboration within the Western New York community and how influential they are, and it going totally both ways. In terms of pain points for any challenges that you face so far with all the moving parts, all the growing, have there been any challenges in particular, whether within your leadership or maybe some of the dynamics here that you've had to overcome?
Yeah. One of the biggest things for me was figuring out defining leadership, because this is my first leadership role that I've held within an organization, because prior to I've been involved in research, and teaching doesn't necessarily have a whole board and leadership team that's part of it. It's really you and your students and some of the other teachers you collaborate with. So it's defining what leadership means for me. It's learning from those who've been in manager or executive leadership positions for a while now and understanding the way in which I can benefit the organization. It takes time. I'm still learning something new every single day within this role in management, but it's staying patient and embracing some of these challenges and seeing ways in which it can benefit me to grow professionally.
What have been some ways that the students have influenced your leadership?
It's feedback. One of the things I pride myself on for both the adult and youth is getting consistent feedback from the students. What works, what doesn't work. When I came in to BCAT in September, there were some ideas of what professional development looked like, but I had to create a blueprint from scratch that I ensured would be as student-centered as possible. Some things worked, some things didn't. And then I hit the drawing board after our first classes and able to develop and continue to develop a program that best fits the needs of our students. Talking with them, hearing their perspective. I will say I have open door policy here at BCAT, and sometimes it does stop me from getting some work done, not gonna lie, but students are always popping in and out, just chatting, talking about their day. I've had students come in just to do work at the other desk in my office when I'm working on something, which is perfectly okay, but it's just about being there and being present for our students.
I'm sure they appreciate that a lot too. And they've, even within the mock interview setting, the students are very engaged and very willing to speak their minds and be honest, which is something that I love about this. That's great to hear, and it seems like you've really found your footing within BCAT within a leadership capacity. In terms of what organizations can do to support BCAT or its mission, is there anything you would like to speak to that in terms of organizations looking to support?
Yeah, one of our biggest things is continue growing our volunteer base, because we're consistently hosting events, doing events, whether it's for our students or for the overall community. So anytime there is someone willing to pitch in, it doesn't have to be through that donation component, it's time. To dedicating, showing that time, because BCAT will reciprocate and do as such as to the best of our ability as an organization, but it's continuing to build out the volunteers, and that's something I've been priding myself on in terms of building our external connections the last couple months.
Great. Could you tell us a little bit about why the professional development program for the youth was needed and set up here at BCAT?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest needs about professional development was helping our students communicate and talk about their art, because we often host galleries and exhibitions, but public speaking is a skill, and it was critical towards the development, not just as a youth, but as a person. Out of galleries, out of these exhibitions, it's where this idea of professional development, tying in some of those skill building, came into play. It's the idea of professional development. It's a pretty big buzzword in terms of what it means, and going into a youth class saying, hey, I'm here for professional development. Great, well, what is that? So me and some members of leadership, workshopping what it looks like and what it can be. And I'm grateful that our organization trusted me to develop a curriculum, implement that curriculum from start to finish. And we just wrapped up our first iteration of youth professional development.
Congrats.
Thank you. But it did take a couple of months of development, because when I came on board as absorbing youth professional development in November, I didn't launch until February. So November, December, January, and even leading into February was all about planning, ensuring we had the community support, student buy-in, and setting us up to succeed. in terms of this new objective of our program to provide that level of support. So it's a little different from the adults, where it was really focused on resumes, cover letters, interview prep, developing a LinkedIn. For the youth, I had to walk it back. So our first session was creating storyboards. The students came into class given a big piece of paper, markers, colored pencils, and they had to map out what brought them to BCAT, what brought them here, their journey. They can draw, they can write, however they sketched it out. And then they had to take, now you're at BCAT, fantastic. Where you go from here. Students spend 40, 50 minutes just developing their plan. And one of the parts that did surprise me the most from this activity was that we had nearly every student in class volunteer to share their story. Vulnerable components as well. We had students share how BCAT became a safe place for them, where they could not get it from outside of BCAT. So hearing students learning from their stories, and from there is where I developed more engaging, fun activities for the students to interact with ideas around resumes or interviews and getting to speak to local artists and professionals. We hosted several panel events where we brought in artists from the Jacobs Institute, the University of Buffalo. The AKG was very supportive, Riverdale Design. The list goes on and on. We had approximately 20 people come in across the span of a week to just speak to our students and share some of their wisdom and how they approach the career, approach school, approach the workforce, and eventually found their path in art. And we recently, just a month or so ago, wrapped up professional development with an out-of-BCAT experience in which we were able to get funding to take our students on tours of the Jacobs Institute, the Legacy House, and the Buffalo Institute of Contemporary Art. Whole day, lunch and everything for the kids, but getting them to see what's around in their community in terms of art and possible career paths that they can explore. We're getting ready to hit the ground running for the second iteration of professional development for the youth, and the important part is finding ways to continue to engage students, taking their feedback. I was very grateful that students were able to offer feedback about what worked, what they liked, what could be better, because that's what really informs our decision. Because without the students being honest, which our students are very honest, which I greatly appreciate.
I love it.
It helps create something that is meaningful, because our youth students, they're choosing to be here. They're not having to do this as part of school. This is an optional sign-up, free classes to explore fine arts, digital arts, 3D production, or 3D printing and music production. And then they get some professional development baked in for all these classes as well. It's about making it as student-centered and engaging as possible.
That's great. What about BCAT's mission do you think really draws students in to be more comfortable? Like you said, it's like their safe space, and maybe they're vulnerable in here where they aren't in other places. So what do you think specifically about BCAT's values, their mission, that creates this space for them?
Absolutely. At the forefront of what we do, it's developing and building pathways that matter. How students define pathways, it's subjective. For some, it's entering the career force. For others, it's making friends. It's getting involved. We have some students who are a little bit on the shy side who even stood up, presented in class because their classmates encouraged them. They made them feel welcome, that they can be themselves and express who they are. It's the fact that what pathways look like is open-ended and really dependent upon the individual that is, I find, resonates well with all our students, adult and youth, and staff too.
I know you mentioned the youth like encouraging each other, and that's also, even from, again, my short visits here, I've seen students like interact with each other, and that's always really fun to watch. But in terms of that student interaction and the school dynamic, how have you seen students continue, again, to encourage each other, or maybe even learn from each other, influence each other?
Absolutely. One of the ways I see it is with simple enough, our cafeteria space. Even though students are here for the youth in different classes, that's one joint space. Students are friends with people outside of their class here at BCAT, or they collaborate on projects. Right now we're working very closely with the AKG to set up a mural, both inside and on the outside of our building. So let the community know BCAT is here, that we're here for the community, here for students of all ages. So that part is very visible, I see with the students, in which they're, hey, try this or do this. Or I really like your approach of how you came up with that design or sketch, and the students are learning from one another. And we even see it even on the adult side. One of the things that really touched me being here at BCAT is the way in which our classes are connected, encouraging one another. They have chats on GroupMe, and our students, especially as they're wrapping up for exams, sending words of encouragement, just grateful to be in this class or grateful for their classmates, and seeing that they build a community within a community. It's no one's telling them to do that. They do it. They buy into the culture and what we're able to create here, and students are in turn affecting and impacting the staff, because seeing students come in, youth and adult, wanting to be here, taking the time out their day out of putting their careers or outside BCAT responsibilities on hold, it's what makes this place run. So it's beautiful to see.
Yeah, I love that. In terms of, so I know we went over the arts programs, we spoke a little bit about tech, but I also know that BCAT has some healthcare-based programs that I'm not sure if they're starting to develop or grow, but how have those been, and what are those like?
Yeah, more so on the growing side.
Yeah.
So we offer a pharmacy technician program, a phlebotomy program, and a medical administrative assistant program. Our pharmacy tech program is by far our largest program in terms of the time commitment, because it's 6 months. Students are here Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And as part of the program, they do a 6-week internship just about at a medical site where they're learning from either another pharmacist technician, a pharmacist, and we're very grateful to have our students working at places or doing their internships at Evergreen or Kaleida Health, Catholic Health, Roswell Park, just to name a couple. So I apologize if I left anyone off the list. But we're very grateful for the support from external organizations on that front. And then we have a phlebotomy program, which is terrific, in which the instructor, former student, instructor of the class.
That's amazing.
She's fantastic and brings a life to the building that is very much needed. And her students, 5 or less 6 years, have 100% passing rate. So
that's terrific.
She
knows her stuff.
She most certainly does. And then that second part, collaborating with me, with outside organizations to find employment opportunities for students. So we're very proud of the work our instructors put in. And then our medical administrative assistant program, working closely with organizations like Kaleida Health, in which students are finding success post the program, post certification, and getting right into the workforce. But our medical classes, healthcare classes are continuing to grow, not just in the number of students we're able to serve, but the amount of classes we're able to offer. So we have some exciting things on the way, but it's really refreshing to see the ways in which our classes don't pause. They continue to adapt as we move into the future.
Yeah, it sounds like the students put a lot of time into each one of their classes. And I know that the healthcare programs, like you said, are time intensive.
Yeah.
Have there been any challenges with students from that perspective?
It's a commitment. That's the trade-off. Our classes are all free, adult and youth, even paying for the certification test. But the trade-off for the financial component is that time component. So it can be difficult to balance work-life schedule in addition to adding school into the mix. We're very fortunate, though, when students are feeling overwhelmed, that we have amazing social workers on staff who are able to be there, able to listen. Even staff like myself, I have no social work training background, but if students just need to rant, just need to talk, vent about what's going on, I'm there to listen. But we have support systems in place to ensure that, yes, it can be a lot. It can be intense balancing everything, but we are here with you. But that time component, it's a commitment, and it's definitely inspiring to see the ways in which our students are committing to these programs, committing to succeeding, and then developing a career out of this, because that's what makes it all worth it.
And I know that you've mentioned, and from the students that I've spoken to, that a lot of the adult learners have families or have backgrounds that maybe are unconventional for certain programs. How have you seen the impact on those particular adults' lives within maybe even their personal family lives, or just out in the community as job seekers? Have you been able to witness their growth, and I guess from both a personal and professional perspective?
So blending both professional and personal is the confidence. seeing students from orientation and then at the very end of class, the way in which they speak about the material, speak about themselves, they built that confidence, because confidence is something that you can't teach. And one of the things that is definitely rewarding for both students and staff, on the outside of our third floor, we have boards dedicated to, why are you doing this? Why are you coming to BCAT every day? And a lot of students do cite their families. That is their motivation. When the studying becomes a lot, when the classes become more intense as they move, students are reminded and reflected, both internally and externally, what is their reason as to why. So holding on to that, it's huge for our students, but seeing the way in which they take their why and develop the confidence for themselves and also to inspire others. I'm thinking about one of our students who graduated in the last cohort for our pharmacy tech class. And for him, he's the first person in his family who is leaving with certification, leaving with schooling, and he's here for all our events, and he graduated. He's coming to our financial literacy trainings, events we offered about LinkedIn, and still coming back and buying into BCAT culture and being part of BCAT, even as an alumni of the program. And him being an inspiration for his family is in turn also an inspiration for us, because it's what makes the difference. And when we're communicating with outside stakeholders or members of the organization at the board level, it's our student stories that matter. That is the why, not just for them, but also for us as staff, and why we come to work each and every day to be part of this organization.
So you've spoken a lot about it, I would say, but how would you define BCAT's culture?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say close, because we are a smaller staff in a big building serving a lot of people. There is no one on staff who doesn't know the other person, and I'm very fortunate that my role here at BCAT allows me to work across the board with our youth team and our adult team. So managing and interacting with different personalities, but even though we have a youth floor and an adult floor, we're all motivated by that same mission. Because if there's not an organization, it creates a different type of culture, but very happy that we have a strong, supportive culture in which people are willing to help, willing to step into tasks and responsibilities that are a little bit outside their role, but there's that support that's there. For me, when I was looking at an empty page for what professional development could look like for the youth, it was leaning on the support and the expertise of our youth instructors who know our students. They gave me meaningful feedback, advice of how to approach it, what they've seen works or doesn't work in terms of teaching approaches, and just being there. I can give one more example. Just recently, I spoke and hosted a workshop at a B-Sides conference ran by Matt Gracie, and I was only able to stay for a few hours because I was catching a flight, and one of our staff members who is in our technology department was able to come in and host the other half of the workshop dealing with resumes. And this was on a Saturday as well. So coming Saturday morning, being part of it, just that collaboration across departments, the collaboration, the trusting one another, and just the willingness to step in some areas that might be a little bit uncomfortable and building with that.
Yeah, that's definitely something I could sense here. Support, collaboration. Anywhere you walk in the building, there's always someone there who has a different role, who contributes to the organization and its mission. Like you said, social workers, teachers, other students uplifting each other. It's just all very intertwined, and it's definitely very evident throughout all the functions here. So that's really cool that not only is it definitely internally set, but also can be viewed and respected, admired from an external perspective as well.
Absolutely. Really appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. And that's super genuine too. So Russell, do you have any advice for maybe prospective students or just people in the community looking to strengthen their skills, become a stronger candidate in the job market, or just explore new areas?
One of my biggest pieces of advice is staying up to date, especially with the competitive job market that we have and the ways in which technology is impacting and influencing the jobs available or not available. Reaching out to organizations like BCAT, because there will always be someone answering the phone or answering an email about questions about classes. We have our adult workforce email. I think there's maybe 5 or 6 staff members, including myself, who are consistently checking that to make sure that inquiries about classes or about events that the students and prospective students are in the loop. But I would definitely say reach out. Whether it's this nonprofit, a BCAT, another nonprofit that might fit your needs, it's people in this community are willing to help, willing to learn, and willing to grow together as a collaborative journey. So I would definitely recommend don't be shy, don't hesitate, because people are more willing to help than sometimes we can think.
So true, so true. And that's why BCAT exists, because everyone's super helpful here, really has a stake in the Buffalo community and wants to see it do better, and everyone else within it. So in terms of the programs for volunteering or ways that organizations or individuals can help support BCAT, is there any in particular that you would like to highlight?
Yeah, I would, two in particular, panel events and mock interviews. Panel events, they spread across the board. We have panel events for our adult classes, whether that's technology, pharmacy technician, phlebotomy, or medical administrative assistant, or for our youth, if there are any members of the community who are either involved in art or have a very compelling story that they like to share about how they found their journey in high school, post-high school, and what that looked like. We're always looking for members of the community to come in, talk to students, adult and youth, offer advice, offer feedback, field some questions as well, because our students definitely, for any panel event, come ready, prepared with questions of their own. And then for mock interviews, industry professionals, we definitely will never say no for someone who wants to volunteer their time as an interviewer or knows someone who would be great in this field and wants to recommend them to reach out. But we have a very growing volunteer base that we're going to continue looking to add, especially one of the things as an organization, because we've been around for about 13 years now. It's boosting our visibility. We often joke we're the best kept secret here in Buffalo, but we no longer want to be a secret. We want to be very public facing within our communities. The more hands-on support we have, the better in tackling this.
Yeah, and come check out the mural that they're starting to paint on the side of BCAT. It's going to be awesome. So it won't be a secret anymore. Everyone's going to be like, what's that? And for people looking to find you on social media or looking to find BCAT, what's the best way they can reach you?
Yeah, reaching any member of staff. We're very present on LinkedIn as an organization, Buffalo Center for Arts and Technology. We have pages on Facebook, Instagram for both the youth and adult programs, in which we're actively posting about things we're doing. But that's actually, I'm happy you brought this up, something we're trying to get even better at. Continuously posting on LinkedIn, on Facebook, not just spreading about classes, but things that we're doing. And I'm very active on all really our LinkedIn as an individual, posting about events, sharing about events. But anyone looking to contact, a simple search of BCAT or Buffalo Center for Arts and Technology, and you'll find us with all our information. But yeah.
Awesome. Great. All right. Thank you so much, Russell, for joining us on this episode of the Pain Points podcast. Super grateful that you were here and able to discuss some of BCAT's challenges, how they're evolving in the community, and really excited to see everything in the future that happens with BCAT. So thank you all for listening. Again, that was our episode of the Pain Points podcast. Check out StaffBuffalo for more episodes, and thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Pain Points podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to follow us so you never miss out on future episodes.